Before we get into what happened, I want you to know who she was first. Her name was Junku Furuta. She was 17 years old. She lived in Misato City, Saitama Prefecture, Japan, with her parents and 2 brothers. She was a senior at Yashiominami High School. Good grades. Barely ever missed a day of class. Her teachers liked her. Her classmates liked her. She didn't drink. Didn't smoke. She had a part-time job at a plastics factory, saving up money for a graduation trip. She'd already lined up a job at an electronics store for after school ended. And her friends said she had a dream of becoming an idol singer someday. She was a normal girl with a normal life. And then on the evening of November 25, 1988, she never made it home from work. What happened over the next 44 days is one of the worst things ever documented in post-war Japanese criminal history. And what happened after, in the courtroom, sparked a national debate about justice that Japan is still having today. This is her story, and I think it deserves to be told carefully. To understand what happened, you first need to know who these 4 boys were. Hiroshi Miyano, 18 years old. He was known at school as a bully, the kind of person everyone was scared of. And there was a reason for that. By the time he was 18, Miyano was already a low-ranking member of the Yakuza, the Japanese organized crime network. He and his crew had spent months committing crimes in the area. Purse snatching, car theft, assault, rape. They weren't teenagers acting out. They were practiced criminals. Then there was Shinji Minato, 16. Joe Ogura, 17. Yasushi Watanabe, 17. All 4 had dropped out of high school. All 4 were connected to organized crime. And all 4 had been using Minato's family home in Adachi, Tokyo, as their base. A few weeks before November 25th, Miyano had approached Junku Furuta at school and asked her out. She turned him down, politely from all accounts. But Miyano was not someone who had ever been told no. People feared him too much to say it. The rejection hit differently. And on the night of November 25th, he decided to do something about it. It was around 8:30 in the evening. Junko was cycling home from her shift at the factory. The plan was already in motion. Miyano and Minato were on their motorcycles. When they spotted Junko, Minato rode up and kicked her off her bicycle, then immediately rode away, leaving her on the ground, shaken. And then Miyano appeared, pretending he'd just seen the whole thing. A stranger coming to help. He offered to walk her home. Junko, understandably rattled, said yes. He didn't walk her home. He took her to a nearby warehouse. There, he told her he was connected to the Yakuza, and that if she didn't cooperate, her family would pay the price. Then he raped her. That night, he called Minato to brag. Ogura told him not to let her leave. By 3 in the morning, Junko was taken to a park where Ogura, Minato, and Watanabe were waiting. She was then smuggled into Minato's family home in Adachi, Tokyo. She was told the Yakuza knew where her family lived. She was told she would never leave. And she was never told anything different. I'm going to be honest with you here. What I'm about to describe is hard to say. And it's hard to hear. But I think looking away from it does a disservice to what Junko Furuta went through. So I'll tell you what happened, factually, not for shock value. Because the reality of it is what makes the failures that came later so impossible to accept. For 40 days, Junko was held captive in that house. She was beaten, with fists, with iron rods, with golf clubs, with dumbbells. She was burned with cigarettes and lighter fluid. She was deprived of sleep and adequate food. After about 20 days, she could no longer walk. The 4 boys invited others to the house. Reports indicate that as many as 100 different people knew she was there, some of whom participated in the abuse. Minato's parents knew a girl was in the house. The boys told them she was a girlfriend. Eventually, even that pretense was dropped. The parents later testified they were afraid that their own son's Yakuza connections made them feel they couldn't act. Junko called her own parents 3 separate times during her captivity, forced by Miyano to tell them she was safe, that she had run away voluntarily, that they shouldn't worry. Her parents filed a missing persons report anyway. Nothing came of it. She tried to call the police once. A patrol car was reportedly dispatched, but the boys had made her go quiet, and the officers left without entering the house. On the night of January 4, 1989, the boys had been playing mahjong. Junko apparently won a hand. That was enough. What followed was a 2-hour attack. They beat her with an iron barbell. They poured lighter fluid on her legs, her arms, her face, her stomach, and set her on fire. They dropped a weighted exercise ball onto her. She fell backward into a stereo and went into convulsions. They kept going. She died later that day from shock. She was 17 years old. When Minato's brother called to say she appeared to be dead, the group panicked. They wrapped her body in a blanket, placed it in a large travel bag, then put that bag inside a 55-gallon metal drum and filled it with wet concrete. That night, they drove to a construction site on the island of Wakasu in Koto, Tokyo, and dumped the drum. And then they went back to their lives. The case wasn't cracked by a dedicated investigation into Junko's disappearance. It was cracked by accident. In January 1989, barely weeks after Junko's death, Mayano and Ogura were arrested for the kidnapping and gang rape of a different 19-year-old woman they had abducted in December. That victim had reported them. During interrogation, police mentioned they were also looking into a separate murder case. Mayano, mistakenly believing Ogura had already told them about Junko, confessed. He told them where the drum was. The police were confused at first. They had brought him in about a rape. They were not expecting a murder confession. The drum containing Junko's body was recovered on March 29, 1989. She was identified by her fingerprints. Her face was too badly damaged for visual identification. The autopsy also revealed she had been pregnant. When the details reached the public and Junko's parents, Japan stopped. Her mother had to be hospitalized after hearing what her daughter had endured. The trial began on July 31, 1989. And right from the start, there was something that struck the Japanese public as deeply wrong. Because all 4 perpetrators were under 20 at the time of the crime, which was Japan's legal definition of a minor at the time, they were processed under the Juvenile Act. Their identities were protected. In official court documents, they were referred to simply as A, B, C, and D. The only reason their real names are publicly known today is because a Japanese magazine, Shuken Bunshun, made a deliberate editorial decision to publish them in 1990. The editor-in-chief's justification, and I'll paraphrase rather than quote directly, was essentially that he felt people who had done what these 4 had done had forfeited the right to anonymity. Here's what the court decided. Hiroshi Mayano, the ringleader, was originally sentenced to 17 years. Prosecutors appealed. It was raised to 20 years, the maximum non-life sentence typically handed down in Japan. Shinji Minato received 5 to 9 years. Joe Ogura received 5 to 10 years. Yasushi Watanabe received 5 to 7 years. None of them were charged with murder. All 4 pleaded guilty to and were convicted of, quote, bodily injury resulting in death. Not murder. The distinction matters legally, and it affected the sentencing ceiling. The public reaction was immediate and intense. People could not reconcile what had been done to this girl. 40 days of deliberate, repeated, escalating torture, with sentences that would see all 4 men walking free before their mid-30s. Legal academics who were surveyed at the time said the sentences were consistent with precedent given the juvenile framework. That technically may have been true. But for a lot of people, including Junko's family, technically correct wasn't close to being enough. All 4 men were eventually released. And what happened next is, for many people, the final chapter that made it impossible to believe the system had worked. Hiroshi Mayano, now going by the name Hiroshi Yokoyama after changing his surname, was released in 2009. He reportedly continued associating with Yakuza circles. In 2013, he was arrested on suspicion of bank fraud and running phone scams. He was questioned but not ultimately charged. Joe Ogura changed his name to Joe Kamisaku after release. In 1999, just 5 years out of prison, he tracked down a man he believed was involved with his girlfriend, abducted him, and beat him for 4 hours. During the assault, he reportedly told the victim he had killed before and would do it again. He was convicted of assault and confinement and served additional prison time. Shinji Minato, who was known as Nobuharu Minato at the time of Junko's murder and later changed his name to Shinji, was arrested in 2018 for the attempted murder of a man. He had beaten him with a metal baton and then tried to slash his throat with a knife. Yasushi Watanabe is the only one of the four who does not appear to have been rearrested. His current whereabouts are unknown. A Japanese news magazine described the rearrests as a, quote, defeat of the juvenile law. The system had been built around the idea of rehabilitation. In 3 of these 4 cases, that had clearly not happened.